Yeah, hey, that was the introduction of Dynamo. That's the name of the character, right?
Yeah,
Um,
Blast Dynamo.
Last Dynamo. Yeah, yeah. That's an interesting. How do you get the theme song?
The theme song is actually Suno AI from like a year ago. Like, so that version is Suno. So if I had made
Oh,
that song now, it'd probably be even more ridiculous.
yeah, that's kind of cool for a cartoon. Now, let me introduce myself. Hey, everybody, this is Kelly Cloud the Wanderer, and I got my guest is Travis. He's an animator. He's here to tell how he became an animator. How you doing, Travis?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you. This is it's good to have a day off during the week just to kind of break things up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So, how long you been an animator?
Oh man, like professionally since 2017, I would say.
Oh,
Like
2000.
actually working in like the industry.
Oh, what's that's like? Where have you worked?
So I've worked at the longest run was with Lowbrow Studios,
Right.
which is basically it's a smaller studio in Connecticut, and yeah, we've taken on projects from everybody. So like WWE, College Humor, like IGN. We did Blackish, um, all sorts of stuff. I could sit here and kind of rattle off for days and days, but we do take work that other people are not able to finish for whatever reason, or projects that maybe other people have perhaps started but had issue with, so they need to have another studio take a crack at it. So that type of stuff.
Oh, but what was your role like in animation?
When I started off, I would do animatics, which is basically just like the rough, like moving storyboards type of stuff. Um, I was a production artist, I guess you would say. So I would kind of just like make up character designs. I would do rigging. In a smaller studio, you're expected to do a lot more. So I wore a lot of hats, and that's kind of what brought me to where I'm at now with like the director type of stuff, which is how I label myself now because I'm sort of, you know, the beachhead. Whenever it comes to like projects, I'm kind of telling other people what to do sometimes, but I could do it all.
Yeah. I discovered you on Instagram, and I was looking at your drawings, your cartoons and stuff, and yeah, wanted to reach out to you. Yeah, so like so you also working on a comic on the Dynamo.
Yeah, so I always try to just to keep myself sharp. I'll do like smaller projects just for myself, and obviously, we have all these tools and everything at our disposal to kind of be our own like entrepreneurs and
Yeah,
all that stuff. I also like to have content to put on the Patreon, which is what I've been trying to push the past couple months. Just sort of, really low. Um, I don't know what you would call it, just like expectation in terms of what people would actually have to pay for such a thing, but to give people like their money's worth. So if you're paying like $5 a month for something, you want to at least be able to be like, oh, like I'm seeing things that people aren't seeing, or I'm getting information and like learning stuff that I wouldn't know otherwise. So I'm trying to like share tutorials and assets, and if people do animation, they can kind of get tips and tricks and like little things to use as templates for projects. And I share things ahead of time so people will see different stages of the game development process before anyone else.
yeah,
So that type of stuff.
yeah. That's cool. Yeah, you told me that you were like a video game. You was working on a video game. Is this about the Blast Dynamo or something
Not
else?
necessarily. So the main core project that I've been working on for a long time is something called Jet Mode, which is basically just like an amalgamation of like all the things that I like. So like Saturday morning cartoons and tokusatsu, like Japanese, like Mass Rider, Power Rangers type of stuff, like transforming heroes, and then like platform games, beat 'em up video games. So it's just like all the stuff I love combined. And I
Right.
recently found a software that allowed me to do it without any sort of like in-depth coding knowledge. But the Blast Dynamo thing was, I think I did that maybe like 2 years ago, like the concept for it and whatnot. And that was just sort of something that I could do that was unapologetically just like over the top, campy, tokusatsu type of deal. And I just loved the idea of making something like really bright and colorful and sort of like a little more inspired by like Capcom Japanese like anime stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like the blaster cannon and
Yeah.
just like having him in this sort of like morph suit type of thing where he's like it's kind of like something that would look silly in live action, but something that for whatever reason works in this kind of format. So
Yeah. Yeah.
just like a lot more fun, poppy, more colorful,
Right.
less rules. So that's
Yeah.
kind of why I did that.
Yeah. This is cool. Like, see, I'm running. Like, what's his purpose? Like, blast.
So this particular character is just it's centered around this object that he has in his armor called the Omni Gem.
Okay.
And it's something that's, it's a lot of stories will be focused around an object sometimes that people are trying to get, will give them power and whatnot. And this is not different than that. So this one, there's the character Warlord Zarkon, who's just this, classic imperial, he leads like a giant army. They go around the universe. They take over planets. But then he learned about the Omni Gem and its powers and whatnot. And so he's now no longer going after planets. He's going after Blast Dynamo. So it's just this sort of, just like, the usual type of story you would get in this kind of universe, but just something where I can flex my artistic skills and kind of not worry about so much about making it like the perfect story, but just kind of like a fun, like popcorn experience,
Yeah. Yeah. It looks cool. Now this is going to be a series, or how many volumes will this have?
So this, I mean, to be honest with you, the format for this, I was going to initially do these. If you'll notice that the ones you had just shown were just all sort of like a square ratio.
Right.
I just wanted to share them on Instagram because you can just slide through them and on things like TikTok and stuff like that. So I didn't have any intentions of publishing it or anything like that. It was just kind of like a digital story.
Yeah.
And, because of all the different things going on, like, projects and my jobs and whatnot, I've been taken away from that, unfortunately. But I do still plan on including him in the video game, which is like my main sort of focus lately because I've gotten so far with it and it's becoming something more than what I thought it was going to be. So now it's kind of just like, I want to use it as a vehicle for all my other characters, which thankfully kind of all fit in the same universe. They're all just these like ridiculous costume superhero people. So I figure I can add them later on as like, extra characters or like unlockables or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like it has potential to be like a Saturday morning cartoon, like something on a Cartoon Network.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
That's the aim. That's the sort of vibe that I was going for.
yeah, and yeah. I noticed that you was doing like a running pose to it, a running cycle to it, too.
Oh yes, yep. So I do. That's another thing that I do. Also, I try to keep myself sharp. If I have free time, I try to stay very active in terms of like making animations and doing little illustrations. And there's characters that I've created that I've done absolutely nothing with. So it's just like a testament to how much I kind of like this style of cartoon that I went so far with Blast Dynamo.
Yeah, now, I could show the animation real quick.
Mm.
Did it take you to do the running cycle for you?
Um, let's see. I think I broke that up over a few days, which I recommend because I think some people they stay up all night trying to get something done and they kind of
Yeah.
lose all their focus. But I think maybe between 2 or 3 days probably to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I be at times. I would like work on this program called Flash, and I would
Mhm.
do like a running cycle practice on the running cycle. Yeah, like I had to kind of look at the tutorials on YouTube because I had like a little foundation of animation, but not like to a point where you are at. So I had to kind of like draw the stick figure first, and then like flesh it out, and then yeah, something like that. So
Yeah, that's what I always tell people to do that, especially if you're doing it in any style. It's always better to just rough it out and get the motion looking correct in like a scribbly
yeah,
format. And then
yeah,
once you have all the motion looking correct, then you can worry about key poses and clean drawing.
yeah. Like what's your education like when you was like in college? Did you like took like courses in animation, studied
Yep.
animation in college,
Yep.
or how
So
was that?
I went to community college and I did a lot of the stuff that was just like universal
Yeah,
art illustration type of things because I didn't want to have to do the full amount of money that it would be to be in college for that long. So I got my associates in fine art, and then I went to Massachusetts and I did animation. So I majored in animation. So I did a lot of all different styles. We did like stop motion stuff, cut
yeah,
paper stuff. We did pixelation, which is like where you just take pictures, individual pictures of it's like stop motion but real life, where you kind of just you can animate people doing stuff and it looks
yeah, yeah,
kind of like
yeah,
stop motion. So yeah,
yeah.
so all that I did like rotoscoping, uh, the hand drawn stuff, and then finally they were like, okay, now that you know all this, here's like a bunch of ways to make it easier with like digital formats and software.
Mm. Like what's your advice to somebody that want to start doing animation?
I would say, I mean, there's so many different ways to go about doing it. There's really no like set way. But
Yeah,
for me, I think the groundbreaking thing that I feel like I always tell people is just to become like so familiar with drawing that you're not even worried about the drawing while you're doing it. Because I think that's what holds people back. You know, they'll start doing an animation and then they'll be like noodling on like an arm or a leg, or it doesn't look right. And then that's kind of what stops them. They hit a wall, you know? So I would say that becoming really comfortable with drawing is probably the biggest hurdle for people. So if they can get over that, all the principle stuff is very easy. Like there's only, there's like less than 20 animation principles.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I took like a couple of courses in animation years ago at the School of Arts. I forgot the name of the school,
the
but
School of
it's in
Visual Arts.
Manhattan. Yeah, the School of Visual Arts. Yeah,
I
I
was this
took.
close to going there, but I did not go there.
Yeah, I just took courses. I didn't, never like took like a semester or anything like that. You could pay for it, and yeah, you're not really there long. You're probably there for like what, like 3 months. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I took like traditional animation and stop motion animation.
That's
Yeah,
cool. No,
so
that's probably, I know a lot of the people that taught there were also industry people. So,
yeah, yeah. There was this guy. He stood out for me. His name, I forgot his name. He was really into horror movies and stuff, and he would like do like the stop motion with a little horror. He worked for MTV years ago in the 90s, and
oh,
he
okay. Okay.
stopped doing that because he was saying that that's when computer animation started taking over, and so
Hmm.
he was really out of a job. Long story short, he was my teacher and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, that's something that seems to come up a lot, and I think that's another thing that people would have to definitely get comfortable with is
yeah,
being forced to learn new tools because I feel like that's something that we always have to do, and especially now things are getting kind of out of hand in terms of like the ethics of the different tools,
yeah,
but it's just something that it's unavoidable. It's something that's not going to go away.
yeah. For you, like what are some of the tools that you use for Blast Animal?
For this one, I usually draw in Flash or in
Yeah,
Animate. I still call it Flash. I think a lot of people do, but they they have such a good brush tool. I feel like if you have the sensitivity settings just right and the smoothing, and if you have a shaky hand, you can get away with a lot. But for the Blast Dynamo thing, I did Photoshop, so I would just sort of, I have different brushes that I use. I use like a more pencil type of brush for the sketching, just
Yeah.
so that I can be a lot more just free with like the fluidity of the lines and stuff. And then I just fade it out, and then I go on top of it with the more clean brush, and then I paint all of it. For the poses, this one is actually pretty interesting. I used, I forgot what they're called. They're like Body Kun or something. Body Kun. They're like, they kind of look like action figures,
Yeah.
but they're gray. They're like a matte gray, and you can pose them and just like take pictures of them and stuff, and kind of use that as reference for like really weird angles. So like at the very end where he's just like standing there and it's the camera is in the sky, that I used reference for that, and also
Right.
the back 3/4 view. So yeah, it's okay to
Yeah.
use reference. I think as long as people aren't stealing things or tracing or like using AI, it's good.
Right. Well, what's your thoughts on AI? You probably don't like it too much, do you?
I mean, I've always been like a tech guy. I'm a technology
Yeah.
teacher. I teach at a school. I teach technology, but it's just like I feel like there's a lot of unethical aspects to it in regards to the training and like building the models initially. A
Right.
lot of these places are being sued as we speak. They're involved in litigations, lawsuits, or whatever. So we'll see where that goes. But I just think that if the second that it becomes more about the technology than the actual artist is when we're going in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Majority of the times on YouTube, I see like previews, movie previews on AI and stuff. Like sometimes they'll go back to the 50s, like a 50 version of the Avengers,
Yeah,
or
those are cool. A lot
like
of them are cool.
I mean, some of it is cool. Yeah, yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
there's that.
So
There's
this
always
is
going
the
to be those
video
where
game
like,
where
I'm sorry, what?
no, I thought you was finished. I was pointing at the video game thing that you're doing, the video game
Yes, I did
project.
that recently. I kind of just wanted to make
Yeah.
the game is not anywhere near finished, but just to have some kind of video. I know people like to
Okay.
get things really quick, all the information. So I just made a quick little thing of what I got so far, just to kind of give people a taste and hopefully create some buzz. Which is why I
Yeah, this
appreciate you
look
having me on,
cool.
because anybody, any sort of platform I respect, and yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Because you could have told me no. I really appreciate that. Yeah. So, like, what were you saying about it before I cut you off? I cut you off. I'm sorry. I didn't. You
What
was
was I
talking
talking
about
about? I'm sorry.
the
With the AI
for
stuff.
not no with the AI. You was something that you was maybe I don't know.
I'm sure it
But this
wasn't
is
too
cool.
deep. It's just like
Oh
there's a good and a bad, just like anything else. I think that. I think what I was gonna say was, because I also tutor people, and one of the students that
yeah,
I tutor has recently got really heavy into wanting to do AI stuff and like talk specifically about AI stuff, and which is cool because I want him to know about it. But at the same time, we don't want anybody to like lean on it like a crutch and just have it be
yeah.
something that it becomes more about that and not so much about your individual um, artistic vision.
Yeah, I would say that it can be cool like what you were saying, but it do has its fault like negatives elements to it because it making it'll make somebody lazy of creativities, like a lack of creativity. It's like cheating, if I could say that, you
Exactly.
know.
It's also really dangerous
Yeah,
because if you're somebody, especially the younger people, because
right.
I'm an older person, like I know what different uh, people's styles are. I know a lot about animated films and shows and stuff, so I can tell when AI produces something that's derivative directly of something from the past. If it's using like a Common Writer helmet or this or
Mm,
that. But if you're a younger person doing it and you just generate a character design and it's got all bits and pieces of stuff that already exists, and you're like, oh my god, this is so cool, I'm going to use this for like my huge multi-year project, and little do you know it's just like going to be very obvious that it's not your ideas.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's tough.
Yeah. I think yeah, I think somebody at one time they was working for an animation company, and they used they used like a used animation, like one of the the anime projects,
Hmm.
and then they copied it, but because the exact movements, like the action in it, the action sequence,
Yeah, it was
they
just like
copied
pose
that.
for pose. I think I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about. Yeah,
yeah. Now,
it's
now
just,
what? Now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that's a situation that you don't want to be in because an industry like this, it's already tough. You don't want to
Right.
have any reason for somebody to turn you down because they absolutely will. So you gotta put in the work, and it's worth it. I think like I've worked really hard on all this stuff because I love it so much, and if I didn't, I definitely wouldn't have
Yeah.
because
Right.
it's very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not easy, like making the animation, doing animation. So yeah.
But yeah, I try to
So
do like
so you like
humor.
Marvel characters a lot?
I love everything. I try to,
Yeah.
sometimes on the Instagram I'll try to do things that are trendy and whatnot to get a bigger following, but a lot of the time I feel like it might be either a pay for play situation or you got to just catch the algorithm wave just at the right time
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes you'll get 50 comments on a thing and sometimes you'll get two and you're like, oh man, I spent way more time on this should get more attention, right?
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily the case. So sometimes I will kind of throw things at the wall in terms of like what characters I draw. But then other times, and most of
Yeah.
the time, I'll try to just post my stuff because I'm like, hey, this is my stuff. I know nobody
Yeah.
else is doing this. And you're kind of
Yeah.
just like building material so that when somebody does discover you, you have that whole page of all different kind of stuff they can check out.
Yeah. This kind of remind me of the DeLorean, and Back to the Future
Hmm.
a little
Yeah,
bit. Yeah.
that's I've been drawing that for a long time. That's kind of just like my main character's hover car.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. Like it's cool. Like how many characters that you draw, like that you have created so far?
That's a good question. I've never actually really thought about it, but I feel like I definitely create at least one new kind of. I don't want to say like universe because they don't ever get that in depth. Sometimes they do, like the Blast Dynamo stuff. I've thought about that pretty heavily. The Jet Mode stuff is like probably the most fleshed out. That has the most characters. Um, I couldn't give you a
Yeah.
number. Definitely like hundreds, probably just like my whole life. Just like unique characters.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like different type of
Like
stuff. Sometimes
what are
based,
these? Oh,
but yeah.
oh, okay. I was gonna ask like what kind of assignments that you give your students
That's a good question.
in
So I guess it
animation.
depends on whatever stage they're at. So the kid that I talk to now, he's on the verge of graduating college, and he's at the same school that I went to, and he has an internship. So I kind
Right.
of help him with, you know, kind of navigating that whole thing. But just simple stuff. If you're somebody that
Yeah.
just started off doing animation, I would just see like where you're at in terms of drawing skills, like drawing volumetrically, coming up with a character, but then like drawing it at different angles. If you're good at drawing, then I would just start off doing well. Walk cycles are not simple, but walk cycles do teach you a lot about animation, just like in one go. So a lot of the times people will start with doing that, but you could also do like takes, which is kind of just like a character reacting to something. It's usually like 2 seconds of just them like just doing a thing, and that's
Yeah.
how people can understand a lot of the more basic, straightforward stuff.
I'm gonna ask a silly question. You taught them like the bouncing ball.
Sometime. I mean, I feel like the bouncing ball
Oh,
stuff. Um, yeah, I mean, like I think I did that back in the day. There was we taught a high school class. I taught a very simple like 3D basics class with one of my professors, who was also
Yeah.
my 3D professor, and we did bouncing ball on that too. But I think a lot of the times I want to build people's confidence, so like I'll try to involve their artwork. So like if they have a character or something, even if it's just like a blink or like lip sync, which is, it could be easier than you think. I try to do stuff like that just so that they see their characters come to life and it kind of gives them that confidence, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
because the basketball can be varied. That's actually a tricky thing to do. That's a lot less about drawing and a lot more about like timing and spacing and arcs, which in my opinion is a little more complicated.
Yeah. 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 I could play some of the animations that you did.
Okay, okay, hold on. Don't tell me. Iron Seagull? Robo Falcon? Turdbird?
Yeah.
You mostly do like characters like based on the future, in the future.
So yeah, the jet mode thing is all about, the future and futuristic type of stuff. I don't always do that. I also have like
Okay.
more silly, because the studio that I worked for is like they do a lot of comedy type of stuff. So I also have like very silly, sometimes like adult, but lately I've been kind of veering away from that because I just want everybody to be able to watch my stuff.
Yeah.
But type of stuff too. And then we did real heavy, the video game, like retro video game style animations, because that was our bread and butter, and kind of still is for the Dorkly studio. So I'm still doing that on and off.
Oh. What kind of video games that you worked with, like the retro video games?
You mean in terms of just like animating the style of those games?
Um,
Like we ripped the sprites basically. So like if you've ever seen like any of the stuff on Dorkly, it'll just be like we rip sprites from like Streets of Rage,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what I
Metroid.
meant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of Mario stuff. The Mario stuff does really well. The biggest video that we had on that channel, I think, was like 37 million views, and it was Plants vs Zombies. So that was like a really weird. We would have never thought that because everybody was gravitating for years to the Pokemon stuff. I also do the voice for the Pokedex for that series, and it's just like it's so silly, like to read the Pokedex entries. They're absurd, and like when you actually show those situations happening on the screen,
Yeah.
it just took off as like a good series.
Like what? Like do you edit it or like how do
So
you
I
like?
do the voice acting for a lot of those. My
Oh, okay.
boss and other people will write the scripts. Um, this dude Alex Bernstein does the majority of those. He's been doing those for like I think over a decade now. But depending on crunch time and whatnot, and what else is being worked on, they'll tap me to come in and do some of that. I'll do animation. I'll do cleanup sometimes. We kind of skip the entire like storyboard animatic phase for those
Okay.
because they come out like every week, so they kind of just have to be done fast. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, is it like is it real tedious? Like what's it like during the week of animating things?
Well, for the video game stuff, those could be tedious, but it's just we always just break it down into like stages. So, or at least I do. So if I get something, it's usually just an animate file. It'll have the audio already in there. Maybe not the music, but
Yeah.
definitely the necessary like voice acting and stuff. And then my boss will have a layer on top of everything where he just draws with like a red brush stick figures doing the poses. So maybe it's somebody like freaking out or like pointing at something. And a lot of the times we don't have to redraw much because it'll just be based off of sprites that are ripped from just like sprite sheets. And
Yeah.
sometimes we have to go in there with like a pixel brush and like draw a special pose. I did something recently where it was like Mr. Fantastic, and that didn't exist. So I had to
Okay.
just literally draw it normal. And then after I animated it, I just went back and did it with the pixel brush so that it looked like the video game style, and it worked out
Yeah.
pretty good. So I do the key poses, and then we just for the video game stuff, it's a lot less smooth and a lot more kind of just like popping into poses and settling into poses, you know.
Yeah. Like, what's your favorite video game you like to play?
Well, now, I mean, ever since me and my girlfriend had played, I forgot what it was. It was Pokemon Scarlet, and it had like a lot of issues with it.
Yeah.
But after that, we had, for whatever reason, started playing Fortnite. And from 2022 to now, we are super deep into Fortnite. So that's probably my favorite game, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I got a confession. I stopped playing games since the 90s. I remember, as a kid, I played Double Dragon, Bad Dudes. I did play the Mario games, like one. I didn't play two, but I played three. Three was a little hard. Then I played the one, the Nintendo 64 one and stuff. Yeah. So
Gotcha. Did you play
yeah.
Battletoads?
Battletoads. No, I don't remember that game. I think I do, but I didn't play that. But I played Bubble Bobble with
Mm-hmm.
the dinosaur spitting the bubbles. Yeah, that was
Yep.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. When I grew up, the whole era of video games it was just like video games based off of TV shows or action figures and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but that was a good run. I loved all those games.
yeah, yeah. I remember like the Super Mario Brothers. They had an animated show on Saturday morning, and then Captain N, the Game Master. I remember that one. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. They,
And
they
I
were
think
cool
the
days.
Sonic one
Yeah,
was
they were cool
Steve
days.
Urkel. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
Steve
yeah.
Urkel
I
did that.
remember that one. Yeah, Steve Urkel. Yeah, Jaleel White. Yeah, he did the Sonic one. Do you have like a animator that you was inspired by, or you just drew
There's
cartoons?
so many. I always feel when people ask me this question, I kind of feel bad because I don't want to be like, oh man, I'm all in for this guy, but probably just like Bruce
Yeah,
Timm and like the Batman animated series run, like that whole era of TV, like Tiny Toons and stuff. Um, but I also love Akira Toriyama. That's like God, pretty much. Like I was super into Dragon Ball Z for decades.
yeah, yeah. I didn't
So,
watch. I mean, I would watch Dragon Ball Z, but I think I stopped watching it a little with Majin Buu. Go when
mhm.
Majin Buu was the villain. I know after a while he turned good, but and then they had this other Dragon Ball series GT where Goku turned back to his younger self, but he was over. So yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
always. I think a lot of people on the internet they fight back and forth about whether or not GT was good, but I love
yeah,
GT. I love all the Dragon Ball stuff.
yeah, yeah. That not too long ago they had like a live action one.
Oh
This
God,
this could
yeah. I always
yeah.
felt so bad about dragging my dad to that because I thought it was going to be amazing, and it was not amazing.
Yeah, they no they had like two remakes of it, live action ones.
Oh
This
wow.
one, yeah, they had this was an Asian type of thing where like all the characters were Asian, and like they would use like guns and all that stuff. It's somewhere on YouTube.
Oh wow.
It was okay, but it wasn't too bad. It was a bit accurate. I didn't really see the live action one in theaters, but yeah, but I know they didn't think it was really good. So yeah,
It's tough to adapt something like that. I mean, it is really brave to attempt to do that. So I mean, I give them credit for that. There was definitely things about it that were cool,
yeah,
but the rest of it was just not cool, unfortunately.
yeah. You ever thought about like making like a animated movie? Just a
I would
thought
love to
out
do
there.
that. I've storyboarded for live action. I storyboarded the I forgot what it's called, the schedule release for I think it was the Cleveland Browns. I did it
Mhm.
was like basically they would go to the bowling alley and they would kind of different things would happen and they would show the different teams that they're like going up against for the season. So that
Oh,
was like the
okay.
first time I actually did live action directing. But then I also did the storyboards for a television series for I forgot the guy's name. his father is a wrestler and his brother is Gold Dust. I forgot what his name is. Something with a C. But yeah, so he had a TV show for WWE like network, and I did the intro for that and like all the like interstitial stuff. So yeah, it's fun. I would love to do that. If I had like a giant budget and free time, I would definitely do that.
Yeah. What would your story be about if you had
Say
to
what?
choose? What would your story be about? Like if you had to like
Oh,
make a story, create a story,
um, I would probably just lean heavily into the jet mode thing, just because I have so much of that fleshed out, and I feel good about it. I feel like the story has a good theme. It has, like you said before, the futuristic motif, which I think is always like visually appealing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it would be easiest for me to just dive into something like that.
So what's like the future holds for you like with animation?
Well, I'm hoping that the environment right now, in terms of studios and work and the industry, I'm hoping that there's more projects happening. I'm hoping
Right.
that there's less stagnation, hopefully. But for me, I think I've been leaning heavily into the video game stuff because I know that at least right now, the AI stuff isn't quite there to do
Yeah.
something like that. I'm just trying to do something that I know um, nobody else can really steal or like, at least directly like copy it. So, and I could obviously try to make money. That's, because I don't want to have to, nobody wants to be a starving artist. I'd be
Yeah.
lying
Yeah.
that I'm trying to, monetize the things that I'm doing. So, but it is a passion project at the same time though. So it's making it so that I will enjoy playing it as well. And I think
Yeah.
people, they respect things like that because a lot of the things that I enjoy are like crowdfunded projects like Hollow Knight or Indivisible. Those are like really big.
Yeah. Do you see like to a point where AI would take over, like dominate, like the animation industry to a certain extent?
My view is that even though it's a strange thing because the quality isn't there, will the quality get there? I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Sometimes it doesn't really matter about the quality as long as it's done in a clever way. Like you can look at something like South Park, right? Where it's,
Yeah.
at least at the beginning was very crude and it was like actually just cut paper and stuff. But because the writing was so good, they got away with it. So I could totally see a future where you might be somebody with really good ideas, really good writer that can prompt entertaining stuff with AI. But I still think that the gourmet quality work will still be human because we'll just have so much more
Yeah.
control over it and we can do so much more things creatively, at least now. I feel like AI is kind of just, it takes in a bunch of stuff and it just regurgitates it and tries to just copy it.
Yeah.
But like human beings, I feel like I'm like a lot more positive and like a lot more like, I guess, spiritual about it. And I just think
Yeah.
that we have more to us. And I think that it would take a lot to just completely remove humans from the equation entirely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not really consistent because there's moments where I see it. It's not, steady like that. Like, like especially with the characters and stuff. It changes another way. Yeah, the features or it's unsteady. So
Yeah,
I
anything
do
with really
notice that.
complicated physics. Like if you have, and they always do this to test new models, they'll have somebody on a balancing beam
Yeah.
or like a race car driving or a fight scene. There's so many things that you have to take into consideration for that. It's tough. That's why I think, if anything, animators might become more valuable in the future because we'll be cleaning up things that people make with AI, showing them how to fix it and tweak it, which might be more affordable than starting from scratch and paying an entire studio. It's just going to be different. Like I said, the times are always changing, the technology is always changing, and we just have to be ready to adapt and just keep trying to get better. Because if we get better, we'll be much more valuable to other people.
Yeah. Like, how do you prepare your students for like a job, like to with these industries?
It's a good question. I think, especially when you're in college, I think is a good time because a lot of the colleges, um, they're kind of tasked with giving you an internship a lot of the time. So I would always, try to be like very on top of that and try to get a good internship ahead of time so that you have the experience. Because even now, you could be someone that's excellent animator, but there's just really not a lot of jobs. Ever since probably 2000 October 2022 up until now, it's been or I'm sorry, 2023. Up until now, it's been very choppy because studios combine with each other. There's less stuff being made. A lot of places are cutting corners. So you just have to try to make yourself as hireable as possible. So like the more stuff that you can do, the better. Or if you do one thing, just be so awesome at it that it's sort of undeniable.
Yeah, yeah. I notice it's not a tough industry to get it, a field to get into. So yeah.
True.
Yeah, so
And also just like not giving up. I think a lot of people kind of just give up too soon. Just keep going at it and keep applying to stuff and really put yourself out there. And if the quality of work is there, eventually something will happen.
yeah. Yeah, well, thank you, man. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge on animation. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah. Do you have any last words you want to throw with the audience, or you good? Or
Yeah, I mean, I would just tell them, obviously if they haven't subscribed to your channel, they should subscribe because I think that you're doing the right thing in terms of reaching out to different people and trying to let people kind of have like a voice and showcase their talents and stuff. So definitely give you a subscribe. If you want to go over to Action Tunes on all the different platforms, I'm on there. But probably the easiest would just be actiontunes.com. Has all my socials and stuff. If you want to check out the behind the scenes, or if you want to support the project, or if you want to play the video game that I'm working on, you can check out the Patreon, which is just Patreon, and you can search Action Tunes. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I appreciate people. If you did take the time to check out this interview, then thank you.
yeah, thank you, man. I really appreciate you giving me your time. So
Absolutely.
all right. So I'm gonna wrap it up.
All right.
Okay, hold on. Don't tell me. Iron Seagull? Robo Falcon? Turd Bird?